Okay, so here we have a 97 12 valve second gen. It's got a, you won't be able to see, but it's got a broken head bolt back there on the exhaust side of the engine that's leaking coolant. So we're gonna have a video here on replacing the head gasket on a second gen 12 valve Cummins. Okay, so I will say I haven't had fuel lines fight me like that on a 12 valve in a while. Lots of penetrating oil was used, but there's the whole assembly. Gonna cap the fuel lines off. The injectors and delivery valves. I have proper caps, I just don't remember where they are right now. I'd rather get this thing plugged up. So, future reference, red Moretz fit perfectly on 12 valve. Lots of penetrating oil was used. And I'm gonna have to clean these fuel lines up real good, that way they go together much easier than they came off. But it's all part of it, doing a head gasket on an old truck is, you know, cleaning everything that's been dirty for 30 years. And dealing with very rusty bolts. Getting this turbo off is gonna be a chore. I'm gonna be pulling the head with the manifold and turbo and then dealing with it on the bench. But like the boost elbow, that clamp's real crusty. Gonna have to heat it. I highly doubt that V-band's gonna come off. We're gonna try. If not, we'll take the 2 bolts out of the downpipe. And then this oil feed line is gonna definitely need lots of penetrating oil and lots of heat, but we'll get it off. That's not gonna be a problem. Yeah, so just starting with getting as much as the small loose parts off the top as I can. And then next thing I'm gonna do is drain the coolant so I can get all these heater hoses out of the way. Get this upper rad hose out of the way, because you're gonna have to just move your alternator off to the side. That way your alternator can stay here. You can move the harness out. Because I always do a thermostat gasket when I do a head, because it all comes off anyway to get machined. So yeah, the injectors and the fuel return line are gonna stay with the cylinder head when I take it off. It just makes it much easier to deal with when it's on the bench. And I'll get the head stripped for the machine shop. All right, so coolant is draining right now. These heater hoses clamp right there, 2 squeeze clamps right there, and 1 right there. So that's already pulled free. I'm just trying to drain it from the rad so I don't make a huge mess. But there's the V-band for the exhaust I was talking about, nice and crusty. Oil line, equally crusty. And that's soaking with penetrating oil right now, the boost elbow right there. But yeah, so not too bad so far. The real problem I feel is gonna start when it's time to get those injectors and manifold off on the bench. I think it's gonna fight me pretty hard, but time will tell. So most of the coolant hoses are all out of the way now. I'm gonna move on to disconnecting the wiring harness on the alternator. That ground right there, the bolt for the bracket for the engine oil fill, all the harness back there, the fuel bowl is gonna come off. I'm gonna have to take the return line, diesel return line off the top of the fuel bowl. And then I'm gonna take a wire brush and clean up basically everything that's rusty that's gotta come off. That way I don't have to fight dirt and grime on the way out. So basically, like this clamp right here, just gonna, it's not focused, but clean up all that grime and rust off the threads. So I have a good fighting chance with some heat on not snapping anything. For how easy as it is, for the results it gives you when you're not fighting dirt as well as rust, it's better than nothing. All right, so what's fighting me in the time lapse is the broken head bolt. And it looks like we got a lot of buildup in this coolant system. That's not too pretty looking, but good cross hatches on the cylinders. That's a good sign. But I got a water temp sensor there at the back of the head, and that broken head bolt that caused all this problem to begin with is catching the holes on the head. The chain's barely touching the firewall, so it might look violent, but it's really not even tight. So I'm gonna get that sensor unplugged and just keep fighting that broken head bolt, get her out of there. Okay, that was a pain in the ass. Ratchet strap, pull the weight on the head forward. Now I can pull it out. It's not my first time. Actually is my first time with a broken head bolt in the head, or block, so. Let's get this thing pulled back and put down so it doesn't fall over on my rickety shop frame. Alright, that's a safe height. Alright, let me get you off the stand. So yeah, there's the head. Lots of oil everywhere I gotta clean up before I crawl up there. Yeah. There's a lot of dirt sitting here. But you know what? We'll get a vacuum in there right now before any of that dirt goes anywhere it's not supposed to. We'll get this vacuumed up and we'll see if we can get that head bolt out. Hopefully it comes right out with a pair of vice grips. I don't see why it wouldn't. Let's give her a go. And now the head is stripped of the manifold, injectors, lots of penetrating oil, got those things out of there. But pretty much stripped for the machine shop now. So this is it for today, but tomorrow I'm gonna start with getting that stud out and getting that head brought to the machine shop. Okay, I'm gonna go over the condition of this deck surface. I don't know if you can tell, but it is extremely crusty. I'm gonna be vacuuming out the holes, don't worry about the dirt there. I started with Scotch-Brite WD-40, super pitted, very, very rusty. This is definitely a block that should be getting decked, but it's not in the customer's plans to be pulling this engine out and doing a full rebuild, so we're gonna do what we gotta do. I've done blocks that have been this crusty before. Cross hatching's really good, so I don't, like, he's not gonna need a rebuild. It'd be a shame to pull the engine out and spend a bunch of money without giving it a shot first. So, but you can see the shape of this truck is very, very flaky, crusty. Okay, so we got the block surface prepped. All the holes are tapped for the head studs. Basically, I know it looks like there's still a couple spots here and there, but when you're working with Scotch-Brite pads and WD-40, as long as you can't feel it with your fingernail, it's good to go, and it's a lot better than it did look. So, and cylinders are all blown out, holes are all blown out, cleaned down. I'll cover it with rags till the head comes back, and then we'll get it sat down on top after one final cleaning. Okay, so these are the exotic rocker pedestals, fresh out the box. Just gonna start with some assembly lube on each one. These, I don't see a problem with running these. I don't personally recommend running the head studs just because the reviews are terrible, but so this one I already done. You just swap your rocker arms over and take an exhaust, snap ring with the washer, and I always put assembly lube because you're working on brand new stuff that's dry. It's just got the oil from the factory. And so I'm gonna go through, do all of them, swap them all over, and have that ready to go for once the head's back on. Okay, so all the rocker pedestals are together. The studs are all laid out. The washers are pre-lubed, and so are the nuts. I'll pre-lube all the studs once I'm dropping them in the motor. Just wanted to go over. I'm not telling you how to do anything, but that's right out of the book, torque sequence. And I'll write it down on the ARP piece of paper with the, I remember how to torque it. I just always like to look at the paper so I can check it off as I do it. And you're gonna need a 14 millimeter 12 point for the nuts. And I'm gonna give the block one more vacuum and wipe down with some brake clean, lay the gasket down. I got the head sitting on the cherry picker from the machine shop, ready to go. All fresh, resurfaced. So that's all set up nice and level on an angle so I can slip it in there. So yeah, just gonna get plucking away at it. I'll probably do a time lapse of me putting the head down. All right, so head's torqued in 3 steps. Now I'm gonna torque the rocker pedestal hold down bolts to 25 foot-pounds. And I will start adjusting the valves. Well, I guess we're jumping ahead quite a bit here, but the overhead's been ran. Fuel lines, I had to fight every single one to free them up with heat and penetrating oil to get those nuts turning freely, just so I didn't fight it on the install. And we went with a replacement turbo, new manifold studs, bolts, gaskets. He painted some of his parts. My light's dying. But yeah, we got new water housing because his was in pretty rough shape. But yeah, injectors are cleaned, installed, return line, the fuel bowl's back on. Just gonna take the silencer ring out of this replacement turbo for him, and waiting for a new 90 because his was in extremely crusty shape. I'll show you guys that actually. So here's his old one. As you can see, it's just falling apart. So, but yeah, I skipped over a lot of it after I torqued the head down. I kind of need this truck out of the shop, so just started motoring through it. But on the thermostat housings, I used the rubber gasket that's supposed to be in there for the thermostat. And I used 2 paper gaskets to guarantee no leaks, because they will leak when you use these new rubber seals are just maybe not quite big enough. But yeah, everywhere I can, I try and go back with new clamps, like the V-band. There's my dying light. He's got brand new bolts for the oil return, stainless steel so they don't rot. Racetronics AN line for the oil feed. So, stock, but fresh. Pretty nice truck, eh?